Welcome, traveler. It's late, and the stars are quiet tonight. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let's drift far, far away to a time long before cars, electricity, and cities filled with lights. Tonight, we journey to the beginning of one of the greatest civilizations in human history, the Roman Empire. But don't worry, this isn't the kind of history that keeps you awake. This is boring history, told softly, for sleep. So lie back, relax, and let the rise and fall of Rome lull you into dreams. Long ago, around the year 753 before Christ, there was a small settlement by the Tiber River in Italy. It wasn't mighty or famous yet, just a few huts, a few farms, and some shepherds. Legend says the city was founded by twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, the sons of Mars, the god of war. As babies, they were left to die by the river, but a she-wolf found them and raised them. When they grew older, they decided to build a city together, but the brothers fought, and Romulus killed Remus. He named the city after himself, Rome. At first, Rome was ruled by kings. Some were wise, others cruel. They built temples, walls, and sewers. But in 509 before Christ, the people decided they had enough of kings. They overthrew the monarchy and created something new, a republic. In the Roman Republic, there were senators, consuls, and assemblies. No single man could hold all the power. At least, that was the idea. The Republic gave Rome a system, a structure, and it allowed the city to grow strong. They built roads, aqueducts, and a mighty army. They began to conquer nearby lands, first in Italy, then beyond. As Rome expanded, it met rivals. The greatest of them was Carthage, across the sea in North Africa. For over 100 years, Rome and Carthage fought the Punic Wars. Carthage had elephants, and the brilliant General Hannibal, who marched his army across the snowy Alps to surprise Rome. But in the end, Rome won. Carthage was destroyed, its cities burned, its people enslaved. And Rome became master of the Mediterranean. Rome's victories brought wealth, slaves, and power, but also greed and corruption. Politicians bought votes, generals bought loyalty, and the Republic began to crumble from within. Then came one man who would change everything: Julius Caesar. He was a brilliant general, a powerful speaker, and loved by the people. He conquered Gaul, expanded Rome's borders, and dreamed of ruling it all. But the senators feared him. They thought he wanted to be king. And so, on the Ides of March, 44 before Christ, Julius Caesar was stabbed to death by his own senators. As he fell, he is said to have whispered to his friend, "Et tu, brute?" And with his death, the Republic died too. Civil war followed, but from the chaos rose Caesar's adopted son, Octavian. He defeated his rivals and became the first emperor of Rome. He took the name Augustus. And in 27 before Christ, the Roman Empire was born. Under Augustus began a golden age called the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. For 200 years, the empire flourished. Its borders stretched from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Syria. Roman roads connected distant lands. Roman ships sailed every sea. Cities rose with theaters, forums, and marble temples. Aqueducts carried water across mountains. Bathhouses filled with laughter and chatter. The Colosseum stood tall, where gladiators fought under the blazing sun. Rome had become the heart of the world. Life in Rome was full of contrasts. The rich feasted in grand villas, while the poor lived in crowded apartments. Citizens debated in the forum, merchants sold bread and olives, and philosophers spoke in the streets. Yet through it all, the empire endured, bound together by Roman law, Roman order, and Roman pride. But time changes everything. After centuries of greatness, cracks began to appear. The empire grew too large to control. Taxes rose, armies rebelled, and emperors came and went. Some ruled wisely, others ruled with madness. One emperor built golden palaces while his people starved. Another made his horse a senator. And slowly, the empire began to decay. In 285 after Christ, Emperor Diocletian tried to save it by dividing it into two parts. The Western Roman Empire ruled from Rome, and the Eastern Roman Empire ruled from the city of Byzantium. This division helped for a time, but new enemies appeared: Goths, Vandals, and Huns. They attacked the borders again and again. Rome's armies grew weaker, its treasures were spent, its spirit began to fade. By the 5th century, the Western Roman Empire was fragile and exhausted. In the year 476, a Germanic chieftain named Odoacer marched into Italy. He deposed the last Roman emperor, a boy named Romulus Augustulus. It was a strange coincidence. The first king of Rome had been Romulus. The last emperor carried the same name, and with that, the Western Roman Empire fell.
Sleep well, traveler. The empire has fallen. But your dreams are just beginning. As the fires of Rome fade into the horizon, the world around her grows quiet. The marble statues are cracked, the forums are empty, and the once golden streets now echo only with the footsteps of the wind. The mighty Colosseum stands still, its arches staring at the stars, remembering the cheers of a vanished crowd. And somewhere, in the dust and silence, the memory of Rome still breathes. After Rome's fall, darkness crept across Europe. The roads that once connected cities fell into ruin. Bridges collapsed, aqueducts crumbled, and the order Rome had built began to fade. This age is often called the Dark Ages, not because the sun stopped shining, but because so much light of knowledge dimmed. Libraries burned, scholars fled, and kingdoms rose and fell like waves against a shore. But even in that darkness, the spirit of Rome did not die. It lived quietly in the language people spoke, in the roads beneath their feet, in the laws they still followed without knowing. The Roman Church, led by popes in the old capital, carried Rome's torch through the centuries, keeping Latin alive, keeping the flame of learning flickering through cold and quiet times. In the east, in the shining city of Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire still stood tall. Golden domes glistened in the morning sun, mosaics sparkled with color, and scholars copied old Roman texts by candlelight. The emperors there still called themselves Romans, even 1,000 years after the West had fallen. Their armies defended the last echoes of the old empire, holding back invaders from the north and east. But time, as always, marched on. Even Byzantium would one day fall, and the light of Rome would sleep again, though never for long. Centuries passed. And then, something began to change. In small towns and monasteries, monks started to collect and copy the old books of Rome and Greece. They studied Latin, rebuilt libraries, and preserved what could be saved. It was slow, quiet work, unnoticed by the world, but it was the heartbeat of rebirth. By the 14th and 15th centuries, that heartbeat grew louder. Artists, thinkers, and dreamers across Europe began to rediscover the beauty of the ancient world. They called it Renaissance, the rebirth. Painters studied Roman statues to learn the secrets of balance and grace. Architects built cathedrals with arches and domes inspired by Rome. Writers read old Latin scrolls and filled their pages with the wisdom of Cicero, Seneca, and Virgil. The ruins of Rome, once forgotten and buried under dust, became sacred again. Travelers came from far away to walk among broken pillars and crumbling forums. They ran their hands over the cold marble and felt something a connection to a time when humans dreamed in stone. Rome, though fallen, was never truly gone. Her spirit had simply changed form. She lived now in the Renaissance, in art, in science, and in the human hunger to know. Michelangelo carved marble as the Romans once did. Da Vinci sketched machines that could fly, echoing the inventiveness of Roman engineers. And scholars, in candlelit rooms, whispered the old Latin words once spoken by emperors and philosophers. As time moved forward, new empires rose: Spain, France, Britain, each one borrowing a little of Rome's image. They built roads, wrote laws, raised armies, and called themselves heirs of that ancient power. The idea of Rome became a dream the world could not forget, a dream of order, strength, and destiny. Even when the world entered the age of explorers and machines, Rome still lingered in its bones. The Roman alphabet shaped the languages of half the planet. The Roman calendar measured our days. The Roman concept of citizenship became the heart of democracy itself. And if you listen closely, even today, you can still hear the echo. The sound of sandals on stone. The rustle of togas in the forum. The murmur of Latin prayers drifting through the walls of ancient cathedrals. Rome's voice never stopped. It just became quieter, softer, woven into everything that came after. Now, as we drift through time, imagine the ruins of Rome at twilight. The sky is painted in orange and gold. The air smells of dust and pine. A single column stands tall against the setting sun, its shadow stretching across the grass. Birds circle above the old temples, and the Tiber River flows gently by, whispering through the stones. 1,000 years have passed, but the heart of Rome still beats beneath the earth. Every brick, every broken arch, carries memory. The memory of ambition, of triumph, of tragedy. The memory of what it means to rise, to fall, and to rise again. Because Rome's greatest secret was never its power or its wealth. It was its endurance. Its ability to begin again after every loss. And maybe, in a quiet way, that is why the story of Rome comforts us still. Because it reminds us that even when all seems lost, there is always something that survives. A thought, a word, a spark. Civilizations fall, but humanity endures. Empires crumble, but ideas remain. And somewhere, deep in our collective memory, we are all still a little Roman. So as you rest tonight, picture the ancient city beneath your dreams. See the marble streets gleaming in moonlight. Hear the quiet hum of a distant marketplace. Imagine the soft echo of 1,000 lives, each one a piece of a story that never really ends. The empire sleeps now, buried beneath centuries of time. But every time we tell its story, every time we remember its rise and fall, Rome wakes again, if only for a whisper, if only for a moment. So breathe slowly. Feel the weight of history settle into stillness. The legions have marched their last march. The emperors have spoken their final words. And the world, once loud with war and glory, is peaceful once more. You are walking now through the ruins, alone, but not lonely. You feel the cool marble beneath your fingertips. You look up, and the stars above you are the same stars that once watched over Caesar, Augustus, and countless souls who came before. They shine as they always have, eternal, patient, watching. And perhaps they whisper too. Whisper that history never truly ends. It just changes shape. And that somewhere, even in the quiet of sleep, Rome still lives, in our dreams, in our hearts, and in the stories we tell. So rest now, traveler. Let the past be gentle, the night be kind. The empire is at peace. The fires have dimmed. And in the silence between centuries, only one thing remains: the calm, endless breath of history. Sleep now, and let Rome watch over your dreams. For though her marble has crumbled, her spirit never will. And as the night deepens, you drift slowly into the timeless quiet, where empires fall, and peace endures forever.